Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, hello. How are you guys doing? Hope y'all are having a good weekend. I just finished teaching some lessons. Look what we have here, guys. So we covered this document, I think, on the last Kohberger live stream, and I got really excited. Of course, as always, I'm doing timestamps, and I'm like, oh, wow, I forgot to read this part, or not read this part, but go to this page. So I was reading this document, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm really excited because it's going to show the drawing, right? And then I forgot to scroll to the last page. So we're going to talk about this, but I just wanted to put this up here on the screen for you guys to enjoy. Shout out to P. Fox. Welcome, welcome. Also, we have new commands here, one of which is if you do exclamation point weather, and then you put either your zip code, or it doesn't even have to be yours. It can be anywhere, but your zip code or your city and state, or anywhere, like Nightbot will give you the weather. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Wait, I forgot to put. Let's try to do an example, and then I messed it up. Let's try that again. There we go. Woo! Oh, it worked. Okay, cool. Good job, Nightbot. Good job, Nightbot, little guy. So, but here's the plan for today. So we're going to do some of these documents we haven't gotten to yet. And then this should redirect you guys into the next live stream, which will be Lori Vallow. So I do have the latest court filings for her, some of which are handwritten by her. And then we're going to also watch Nate Eaton's, just recently this happened, his interview with Colby Ryan. So Lori's surviving son. But wait, there's more. So I discovered on YouTube, probably because I was like, saving Lori Vallow, stuff or whatever. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know how it happened, but YouTube taught me about a new cult I had never heard of. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it or not, but man, it's intense. It takes it to a new level, a very much next level situation. And I started watching there's like an investigative journalist who got like an exclusive interview with like the cult leaders or whatever, and she does a really good job. And like I haven't watched the whole thing. I watched some of it, and I was like, dude, this is amazing. We have to watch this. Like, it is crazy. And it's right on point, right? When you got Chad and Lori. So I think what we'll do is after we finish watching the Colby Ryan interview, we will watch, I think we'll watch some of that if you guys want. I think you guys will be very intrigued. It is crazy. Next level. And by the way, this cult is still operating, and they have a YouTube channel. And so I saved some of their YouTube videos for us to watch too. It's crazy. So that's what we have coming up as well. But first off, we have this. So here's what's so interesting about this Balaclava situation. So and I'm trying to remember, was this a state or a defense filing? Let me see. Okay, this is a defense filing. So what's so interesting about this is that when I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Actually, let me search for it. Because when they showed her, so in the previous filings, what they had said was that they showed her Dylan, right? There it is. Right here. Okay. In the third interview on November 17th, 2022, DM was interviewed by Detective Gooch, who asked DM if she knew what a balaclava was and showed her a picture. And what it said in the previous filings was that, because this is before we had the drawing, right? What it said in the previous filings was that when they showed her the picture, she said it didn't look anything like that. Actually, now I feel like I need to pull up that previous filing because I think it's really noteworthy. Let me find that. I think it's really noteworthy because she says she doesn't recognize it. And then she says it's different from that. And then she proceeds to draw it, apparently. So let me find it. Let me just find it. Because they didn't include all of that here. It's a lot easier when they still have the red box when it says new next to them. It's easier to see these things. Okay, I think. Wait, is this the same one? No, I need the states filing. Just a second. Where is it? Where are you? Bushy eyebrows. Ah, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. Okay. Right. This one. Okay. Okay. So a Detective Gooch asked him if she knew what a balaclava was and showed her a picture. In response, and addressing whether she could see the male's mouth, she said, "No, I don't remember if I saw it." So that's like a different question. And then if she could provide a composite, and she said, "No, I don't remember." Okay, so here we go. We're right. Again, DM described the ski mask. I couldn't see any of his hair, but I just remember seeing it was like almost rectangular, like not the circle ones. It was rectangular because I remember seeing like just like I don't know how to explain it. At the end of the interview, DM drew the mask for the interviewer. So where was the balaclava highlighted here? So yeah, so this is basically what I was trying to say, right? Which is that they asked her if she knew what a balaclava was. They show her a picture, and then she's like, "No, it's not like that. It's not circular. It's a rectangle, right?" And then she proceeds to draw it. So the point being, they asked what a balaclava is. She says no. She doesn't know what it is. They show her a picture. She's like, "No, it's not like that." She draws what she thinks is the mask. And then somehow the end result is everybody's like, DM identified a balaclava or DM drew a balaclava. Like, I don't really quite understand where all of that is coming from when she didn't know what it was. They showed her a picture. She's like, "No, it doesn't look like that. It looks different." Now, in my opinion, right, what she drew is a balaclava, but that doesn't matter. In her mind, it's supposed to be different. So I think it's noteworthy, right, that this is kind of my point, right? That initially they show her the picture and she's like, no, it's not like that. It's different. And then at the end of the interview, she goes to draw it and it looks like a balaclava, right? So I don't know. Also, I will say, like, yeah, even here it says it looks it looks remarkably similar to a balaclava, right? It says. And again, Dylan herself said it doesn't look like a balaclava when they showed her a balaclava. So I think that's noteworthy. But also, like, the other thing is this, like, I'm a terrible, 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 terrible drawer. I cannot draw to save my life. And like, this is surprising for me because I mean, wasn't Dylan supposed to be an artist? But even if she's not, like, this is surprising. Like, I don't even know what the word is. How would you guys describe this? Like, there's something very odd about this, right? Like, why? I have a lot of questions. Like, why? Hold on. Was she struggling? Okay. Was she struggling to make a straight line here? Can you guys see my mouse? Like, where, and it's annoying too, because it's like horizontal. Can I put the thing down, flip it, and reverse it? Let me just see. Hold on. Let me just see if I can make this different. Let me just try something here because this is annoying me. Like, this picture is, there's a lot of oddities here. And, okay. And it's one thing, it's easy to make fun of it, right? That's fine. That's all well and good. But also, I think it goes beyond that. If I can just do this thing. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to try to make this vertical for you guys. Okay, cool. Here we go. And then here we go. That's good. Perfect. All right, now let me share this to you guys. Excellent. Wonderful. This is what we need. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this. Okay, let me unshare, reshare. Okay, there we go. Yay. Okay, so now you guys can see the lethal hand like Nightbot, right? The lethal hand like Nightbot. Perfect. So I would imagine, right, even though it's horizontal in the filing, I would imagine that probably when Dylan drew this, she was drawing it this way, I would think. Now, it is odd because of the notebook paper, right, going this way. I don't know. I have a lot. This is just odd, right? But what I was going to say is, like, look at how the much struggle there was. Can you guys see again, like, the little hand, how much struggle there was to get this, like, curved line or whatever? And same thing right here. Like, why? I mean, again, I'm just going to reiterate, like, I cannot draw to save my life. And I mean, that's what was so shocking. Like, my first reaction when I saw this, my first reaction was, wow, even I would, my drawing of a mask would look less crappy. And that's saying a lot. Because, like, literally, I think I'm probably the worst person drawing on literally the planet. And I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm just saying it because it's odd. Like, it's odd. Like, to me, it's like I would have thought it impossible that someone could draw something worse than me. So, but, like, even again, like, the part here on the sides is weird. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just odd. It's odd. Okay, but I'm going to save this so that we can pull back up if we ever need to. Oh, of course, isn't. Yeah, of course I've considered that. Needs and Deeds is asking if I've considered that it's intentionally bad. Of course. Yeah, that's my point. That's my point. Because otherwise you would have to have, I mean, unless she was still drunk, like, that's what are other solutions? Like, unless she was still drunk or she was having, like, a seizure, like, with her, like, I mean, because look at the shit with where the little hand is, it blows my mind. Like, I don't know how that happens unless, like, extreme circumstances, you know? So either it's intentionally bad or there's some other, again, like, she's still drunk or they had her do it with her eyes closed. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that still wouldn't produce something this bad, Like, I feel like with my eyes closed, could probably draw a better mask. I mean, definitely with my eyes open, but maybe even with my eyes closed. And again, that is saying a lot. You guys have seen my squirrel drawing. That's the one thing that I draw, and you guys have seen it. So, yeah, but even I would not have these issues. So, but the reason I think it's interesting is just because, like, you know, mainstream media is like having a field day, right? And I think it's just so noteworthy again that she drew this at the end of the interview, but earlier in the same interview, when they showed her a picture of I almost said balaclava. When they showed her a picture of a balaclava, she was like, no, this doesn't look like that. So you see what I'm saying? The reason I brought it up is because it does indicate that over the course of the interview, potentially things happened, right? We know that things can be suggestive or whatever. Things happened to where, even though she said it didn't look like that, she didn't know what a balaclava was, said it didn't look like that, and then she draws a ski mask that looks like an extremely crappy version of a balaclava. So how did we get there? How did we get there? To me, the significance is more about the line of questioning by Detective Gooch and less about Dylan, right? You know what I mean? It's this whole thing of like the power of, suggestion when you've got people that are being interviewed. And we know that this matters because the bushy eyebrows didn't come up at all until a few days later, you know? So this is what I'm saying is like, it's another example of like the influence, you know? That's why I think it matters. So, okay, so now let's go back to the findings. Oh, by the way, need some Z's. I'm so glad you're here. Thank God, because you just reminded me of something. I have something. So I always follow up on stuff, guys, right? When we talk about things. And Needs and Z's asked a really good question last time about the difference between this and Alec Baldwin. And I was talking about that, right? I was talking about the difference for New Mexico and Idaho. And all of that is all that's accurate, right? And I'm sure that's time-stamped. But I wanted to also find some case law that specifically talks about dismissal. Oh my God, dismissal with prejudice, because that's what happened in Alec Baldwin's case. So I found some Idaho case law from 2020 out of Boise. So let's take a look. So thank you so much for your question, Needs and Z's, which sent me looking for this case law, which is very much applicable, I think. Welcome back, Rolo. Welcome back, Jack, as well. Yeah, the creases, maybe. I don't know. They are weird. And also, why was it the wrong direction from the notebook paper? It's just. Okay, so this is the case law. So, so this is the appeal. So what's important here is they're going to talk about, so the order granting the motion to dismiss is vacated and remanded. So here the state is appealing. So, okay, so we'll see. We'll take a look. So this is important though. This is going to set out, it's going to outline the standard here, right? So the factual background doesn't really matter so much here. We're going to get to the opinion. Standard of review. This is what we want. This court reviews a trial court's decision regarding a motion to dismiss a criminal action for abuse of discretion, right? Because we know the trial judge has discretion, right? All right. In reviewing discretionary rulings, we engage in a multi-tiered inquiry to determine whether the trial court, 1, correctly perceived the issue as one of discretion, 2, acted within the outer boundaries of its discretion, 3, acted consistently with the legal standards applicable to the specific choices available to it, and 4, reached its decision by the exercise of reason. Like a motion to suppress evidence, when a decision on a motion to dismiss is challenged, the court accepts the trial court's findings of fact that are supported by substantial evidence, but freely reviews the application of constitutional principles to the facts as found. Let me read that part again. That's really important, okay? For Idaho case law here. Let me read that part again. Like a motion to suppress evidence, when a decision on a motion to dismiss is challenged, key part here, when a decision on a motion to dismiss is challenged. So what that means is whether the decision was it's granted or the decision was it's denied. If the decision on a motion to dismiss is challenged. The court accepts the trial court's findings of fact that are supported by substantial evidence, but freely reviews the application of constitutional principles as to the facts. What does this mean? Right? Like, you know how we always hear in jury instructions, right? Like, jury, you are the triers of fact, and the judge is the triers of the law, or is the, trier of law. So, essentially, very similar concept, right? Where what they're saying is, for this standard of review in Idaho, okay, the appellate court, okay, oh my God, why is it that big? The appellate court accepts whatever findings of fact the trial court judge, let me say it again. The appellate court accepts the findings of fact made by the trial court judge. Okay. So that's not up for debate anymore, right? So that's important. But of course, they can still, so they're now going to review the application of constitutional principles to said facts. That makes sense. Oh, Twiz is here. Excellent. Yes, that is what she said. Thank you. Thank you. For anyone who missed it, Twiz is now our first and only mod. It also has some special privileges as a co-host and can pop on whenever he feels so inclined. So, so this is interesting. So then this court will accept the trial court's findings of fact unless they are clearly erroneous. This is giving me vibes of Massachusetts, right? Where like the standard of review is like a really tough one in terms of like overruling what the trial court found. Like, you know what I mean? Okay, so then the analysis. Excellent. On appeal, the parties primarily dispute the legal standard applied by the district court. The state contends that the district court erred by applying Brady v. Maryland rather than Arizona v. Youngblood. Now, this is the part that matters especially. And this is U.S. Supreme Court case law, right? Okay, so then the state maintains that had the district court properly applied Youngblood, the court's finding that disposing of the vehicle was not an act of bad faith on the part of the state would have been dispositive and required that the motion to dismiss be denied. Sarbacker, I don't know, I think that's the defendant probably there, argues that the district court correctly applied the materiality standard from Brady. Yep, that's got to be the defendant, as articulated. Okay, so remember, this is the state appealing, right? And why am I saying the state's appealing? You're probably like, wait, what? State appealing? Okay, right. So what happened here, right, is that the trial court granted the motion to dismiss, okay? They granted it. So just like in Alec Baldwin's case, for those of you guys who are familiar, what has Carrie Morrissey been doing? Appealing, because the state lost, right? And it was a motion to dismiss with prejudice, which means they cannot bring charges again for the same charges. So just like Carrie Morrissey was appealing in that case right here, in this case, again, this is Idaho case law, the state is appealing. So here, the defendant is saying, no. The district court correctly applied the standard from Brady, the materiality standard. Okay, so here is the findings. The district court erred in applying Brady instead of Youngblood to a case where the missing evidence was of unknown exculpatory value. All right, need some Z's. And anybody who was here last time, remember what we said? So difference between Idaho and New Mexico, right? And this is making it really clear with the case law here in Idaho, that in New Mexico, the difference being that if it's of an unknown, and I believe they even mentioned Youngblood in when they were discussing this in the trial, but if it's of an unknown exculpatory value, it's given the same standard as Brady for a motion to dismiss with prejudice. Because that is what the case law has found for New Mexico. That is what their authority gives them. So here, though, in Idaho, what this is saying is that if it's of an unknown exculpatory value, you have to apply Youngblood instead of Brady. So they make a distinction between if it's of an unknown exculpatory value versus a known exculpatory value. Whereas in New Mexico, they're equal. So in New Mexico, right, if it's of an unknown exculpatory value, they're like, it doesn't matter. It's just as important as had it been a known. And why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Because when it comes to the phone records, right? The AT&T, so there may be, I'm trying to foresee how this could play out, because there could be a question of, like, what it's going to come down to is really this. Like, we don't know what all the defense has from the state, you know? Again, in that filing from Ray's affidavit, it looks like, you know, he's saying, you know, we covered this just yesterday, or God, whatever day that was. I think it was yesterday. You know, he's saying, like, okay, hold on, let me back up. If you're in a state where the standard from a motion to dismiss with prejudice, where the standard is it has to be of known exculpatory value, you have to know what the data says. You have to know what the evidence is that is exculpatory. Like, you have to have it. So here's the thing. If you don't have it, you guys see where I'm going with this? If you don't actually have it, unfortunately, that can put it in the category of unknown exculpatory value, because you can't say it's exculpatory if you don't know, right? So in terms of the AT&T time advance data, like, you know, Ray was saying it strains credulity, right? Basically, it's impossible that the FBI did not have Bryan Kohberger's time advance data. And, you know, we broke it down in great detail, and it became clear that Ray, again, was making the argument like it's impossible that they don't have it or whatever. But, like, also, he wasn't saying, he didn't confirm that they, as in the defense, have those records. However, it is kind of alluded to, as in, you know, and maybe I wonder if you have some thoughts on this, Twiz, because I feel like I've been racking my brain about this, right? Because I'm like thinking, I'm trying to figure out, do they have it? Do they not have it? What do they have? Because it's a tricky thing, right? Okay, let's just say, for the sake of example, let's just say that Ann Taylor subpoenaed, got records, and maybe through tweet process, I don't know. Let's just say she was able to obtain these records on her own, not from the state, okay? Then, and what you're wanting to do, right, in these filings is say the state didn't turn it over, right? You're in kind of a bit of a catch-22, right? Because if you want to go with there's exculpatory evidence, you have to be able to describe it well enough, which is my point. Again, this is where it's that catch-22. You have to have enough information to say it's exculpatory. But if you're saying you never got the information, how can you say it's exculpatory? You see what I mean? The catch-22 is important there, I think. So you wouldn't want to, like, show your hand. Like, if you got those, if you separately were able to subpoena those records, and then but you're here arguing like, look, the state fucked this up, they said they didn't have it, da da da. Like, you guys see where I'm going with this, where it's tough because you want to be able to argue that they didn't turn it over and it was exculpatory, but it's tough because you can't, it's hard to say that without having it. you see what I mean? So it's a tough position. Spencer, welcome. Okay, I've not been looking at the chat. Let me see what you guys are saying. And Jeff H is here. Hello, Jeff. Hello. Welcome. Haven't seen you in a hot minute, as they say. Needs Maziz asked this question. I probably answered that after you asked it. Because usually when I'm thinking out loud like that, I clarify for myself and others. Usually. Let me know if I didn't, but I probably clarified. But I think that if I were to go back in my brain and answer that, I think it was unknown I think the answer there was probably the defense, is what I was referencing. Spencer saying the one and only Twiz. Yes. He's in the likes. He joined the League of Nightbot. And welcome, Kane. Happy to see you. Good job on the live earlier, although the Nancy Grace was tough to stomach. Oh, and there you go. Yeah, literally what I was asking, right? So Needs and Seas saying, do you think no, they have Bryan record? And that's what I'm saying. This is what I've been racking my brain about, right? I have this feeling because, and we can pull the filing up again, right? Because it's interesting. There's little whiffs of it in there, like these little hints here and there, where again, because they're wanting to make the argument that it's exculpatory, right? I mean, literally, Cyrus says as much. Literally, he says exculpatory, right? In bold and italics. I think it's italics, definitely bold. It says exculpatory, right? In order to say that, you have to have the records, but you're also saying the state didn't provide them. You see what I mean? So that's why I'm thinking they must have gotten them a subpoena to the feds. Coded? I don't know what you mean. Oh, I don't know what coded means, actually. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that is. So Twiz is saying you assume they do, as in they do have the records. Yeah. So she would have had to. Now, having said that, that's crazy, right? Because we all know how difficult it is to. Now, I mean, I guess she could have gone directly to AT&T because, like, going to the feds is we know it's very difficult, right, with tweet process. So I don't know. I feel like I still we need to figure out what coded means though, because I don't know what that is. A Twizbot. That is hilarious. Twizbot. So, okay. So let's keep reading some of this case law here. Oh, it's computer code. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. That's beyond me. My fanciest thing was doing the weather command. And then I figured out a command. Okay, for Tanel. She was here earlier this morning for Murdoch. And look what I did for Tanel's command, you guys. I'm putting it in the chat. It's going to put her time zone in New Zealand. That was like big deal. I was like, whoa, fancy. If Nightbot will do it, there it is. Yeah, cool. So, okay, so the district erred in applying Brady instead of Youngblood to a case where the missing evidence was of unknown exculpatory value. Okay, the due process clause. Okay, we don't need to read all that. That's all fine. Okay, here we go. This is the most important part, I think, here, guys. While we have consistently held that Brady applies when the state fails to disclose known exculpatory evidence, this is the crucial part, known exculpatory evidence. We have applied a different federal precedent in cases where the state has failed to preserve material evidence of unknown exculpatory value. That's it. So a different standard. So now let's just see here. That's the Youngblood case. And part of the bad faith, right? Of course, that makes a difference. Refrigerating clothing. That's interesting. In the case at hand, the district court looked to the Leatherwood case, which the Idaho Court of Appeals decided in the interim between Brady and Youngblood. So when they were still, that is so interesting. So the Idaho Court of Appeals was still trying to figure out which standard to apply, right? They're in the interim between Brady and Youngblood. That's wild. And then that's when they had the Leatherwood case. It addressed the ambit of cases where the nature of the evidence lost or destroyed can be established indirectly by other evidence or testimony. So if they're here, there was a failure to preserve. Okay, we believe that conceptually there should be, and in actuality there is now recognized to be a unified standard of materiality in Idaho. This standard governs application of the due process clause of the Idaho Constitution to those cases where evidence has been withheld by the prosecution. And in those cases, like the one before us, where evidence has not been preserved but its nature can be determined indirectly through other evidence or testimony. We hold that such evidence is material under this standard if viewed in relation to all competent evidence admitted at trial, it appears to raise a reasonable doubt concerning the defendant's guilt. What is going on? The car out there. Anyway, okay. So so they're saying the evidence is material. That's how they're defining materiality. Contrary to the defendant's assertion on appeal, the Court of Appeals citation to the Idaho Constitution in Leatherwood did not establish a new standard based solely on our Constitution. So basically, we don't need to go through, this is 17 pages. I'm going to save this because we can always come back to it, but hopefully that outlines a little bit there, the standard. So what ended up happening here, just long story short, right? They said the trial court applied the wrong standard because the evidence was of unknown exculpatory value. And so they reversed the dismissal and remanded it back to the trial court for a new trial. So that sucks for the defendant, right? But there you go. So that's the Idaho standard. Welcome back, Toes. Let me see what you guys are saying. Twiz eating red vines. Is that from something? Why does that ring a bell? That's funny, Spencer. Yeah, why is the Faraday bag coming back up? I don't know where that's coming in from. That's weird. I don't think that's part of this. Oh, I see. People say he's a Twizzler, but he's eating red vines. Gotcha. Yes, I know it's candy. Thank you. Also, another new command that we have, by the way, is if you do !DJ, Nightbot will randomly generate one of DJ Khaled's keys for success. Here we go. DJ Khaled once said, the key to success is to keep your head above the water. Well said. Thanks, Nightbot. Okay, so anyway, shout out to Need Some Z's. Thank you for asking great questions, guys, as always. And so there's the case law to discuss there, fully flesh it out, right? The standard for Idaho. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the other things. Okay. All right, so we followed up on the bushy eyebrows and the mask. Okay, so now we are on to the 911 call. Okay, buckle up, guys. That is what we are on now. That's what we are on. Okay, so yay. We get to talk about hearsay more, guys. We get to talk about hearsay more. Woo! A microwave. DJ Khaled once said they don't want you to be healthy. Interesting. Okay, here we go. So, state's reply to defendant's objection, 911 call. A Faraday cage? So you put a Faraday bag inside of something else? Why would that be necessary? Spencer thinks snipe off the tooth is fine. Okay, so state's reply to defendant's objection to state's motion in limine 911 call. All right. Let's talk hearsay, people. First person to correctly define hearsay in the chat without looking it up wins. Million score points. No cheating. Speaking of which, today is the deadline to get your categories in, guys, for the next members only live stream. If you want to do your category for trivia. I've heard of the name Snowden. I don't know anything about it. I just have heard of the name. No. Nope. That's so cute, Twiz. That is so cute. Twiz is not a first-hand witness. That is so cute. Is that a joke? Spencer. Oh, man. That's funny. She struggled. She struggled big time with that, didn't she? Kane just fainted. Are you okay? Do we need to call 911? Speaking of 911. All right, I'm still waiting. First in the chat to correctly define hearsay, looking it up wins. Y'all, come on. I know you guys can do it. Okay, let's review. So remember, there's two main factors, no cheating, two main criteria that have to be met, okay? First, out of court statement, or, statement made outside of court, out of court statement. Second, offered for the truth of the matter asserted. You put them together, what do you get? Hearsay is an out-of-court statement being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. So I gave an example last time when we were talking about the text messages that let's just say that somebody has a text message and it's, Sarah's favorite color was purple, right? Okay. That may or may not be hearsay. Now, it's definitely an out-of-court statement, right? Okay. So what would be the question there for the analysis? It would be, is it being offered for the truth of the matter asserted? So that would depend. So let's just say in this particular case that we're talking about here, Sarah, who is Sarah? We don't even know. It doesn't matter. Like Sarah's favorite color being purple, is that being offered for the truth of the matter asserted? In this case, no. I mean, this is hypothetical, right? But let's just say that, I don't know, maybe in a civil case, for example, I don't know. I'm trying to think of where that could be at issue. It could potentially be at issue. Where, I don't know. I don't just pretend that there was something where, I don't know, there's some sort of defamation lawsuit going on and maybe the color purple matters, right? Where that is being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, right? Then it's hearsay. So it has to be a statement made outside of court, offered for the truth of the matter asserted. Another example, take that same text message, this hypothetical text message. So-and-so said Sarah's favorite color was purple. If it's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, which is Sarah's favorite color being purple, let's just say it's being offered instead to show what time a text message was sent about Sarah. Then it's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. Therefore, it's not hearsay. That makes sense? Okay, so, all right. Defendant relies on, so remember, so this is the state's filing. Okay, so defendant relies on BF's and DMs and BF's actions from the night before to support his argument that the statements on the 911 call cannot be excited utterances or present sense impressions. This is misplaced. The excitement leading up to and during the 911 call was not caused solely from seeing a male in the home the night before, while that assuredly was a startling event, but from discovering moments earlier that the roommate and her friend was not waking up. This is in addition, Heather, I've missed you. This is in addition to also realizing that none of the other victims in the home were responding. The entire call should be admitted through the excited. Okay, so again, just like how we just outlined hearsay, right? Well, now if something is hearsay, then you can have your exceptions, right? And this is where this comes in. And literally, what did I say before? They're going to have to go piece by piece, line by line, just like with the text messages. And look here, this just makes my law nerd heart so happy. This makes me so happy. You guys have no idea. Like, let's bring it down. Okay, the entire call should be admitted through the excited utterance exception to the rule against hearsay. However, if the court breaks down each statement made on the call, the entire call would be admitted, as each statement is either an excited utterance, a presence of impression, or is non-hearsay. Non-hearsay, okay, guys. So let's do it. Let's see who was listening, who was paying attention. First in the chat to correctly define hearsay without looking it up wins a million squirrel points. And Heather, you missed it. Twiz is not only a mod, he's got constitutional rights now. He's a permanent co-host. He can pop on anytime. Welcome, Mikey. Welcome, Miss Q. Yeah, I don't know where James is because actually he messaged me on Discord and was like, asked if I was going live. And I told him this was earlier today. And I was like, yeah. Okay, close. Thank you. What's the part one, though? We need part one. Thank you, Twiz. Twiz wins. Okay, you win. You good job. Good enough. You get 1,000,000 squirrel points. Good job, Twiz. Good job. Yeah. So again, the thing is that's so funny, right? Is the term hearsay, right? Most people, understandably so, will think it's because somebody else told you something. That's what it sounds like it means, right? That totally makes sense. Like so and so told so and so. Well, while that is hearsay, hearsay it's way more than that, right? Because it can be you saying it. Like again, great example, Amber Heard, right? In Depp Heard. She would be on the stand saying, I told so and so, objection hearsay, right? And it was her own statement. Why? Because it was a statement she made out of court and she was offering it for the truth of the matter. And it was self-serving hearsay. So it doesn't have to be somebody, it doesn't have to be like the game of telephone, guys, right? It can be literally it can be you saying it to yourself in your head, right? Or whatever. So hopefully that makes sense. It's not secondhand information. That's what I'm saying. Back it up. I think you just got here. Back it up a minute. It's not secondhand information. It includes secondhand information. Okay. But the most important thing is it's not limited to secondhand. Firsthand information is still hearsay. The thing is this, so much of what comes in at trial is hearsay. And remember also, guys, it doesn't just have to be an oral statement. So it's like a written statement. Basically everything is either hearsay or is either hearsay with an exception or it's not hearsay, but like a lot of it is. So like videos, like surveillance camera footage, right? Text messages, documents. So much of what comes in at trial, essentially, it could be considered hearsay, right? And then again, like statements can be written or verbal, and then according to the case law that they've been citing here, also a gesture can be interpreted as a statement, which I think is insane. But anyway, so yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Thank you so much, Mikey, for gifting a membership. Awesome. We got some new commands as well, guys. Speaking of Lori, this stream will redirect you guys into the Lori Vallow live stream. We've got the latest court docs, as well as an interview with Lori's surviving son. And for anyone who missed it, we're going to watch something really crazy too on that live stream. That is a cult that I just discovered on YouTube. I'd never heard of, and it's next level culting. It's next level cult behavior, and they're still operating, and they have a YouTube channel. So after we watch after we do the Lori docs and watch the interview with Colby, then we're going to segue from Lori cult into other cult, which is a surprise. I'm not saying the name, other cult, because I think you guys are going to really find it fascinating and also terrifying. Literally my jaw, I didn't even watch the whole thing, but my jaw was just like on the floor, and I'm like just little, like can't even like, just craziness. So okay, so all right, so let's break it down. So we got page 3, lines 4 to 5. So 9-1, location of your emergency. Look, guys, oh my God, this just makes me so, like, my nerd heart is like happy. Non-hearsay, not for the truth of the matter asserted. Beautiful. Okay, then BF, hi, something is happening. Something's happened in our house and we don't know what. Okay, authority for admission, right? Present tense impression. This statement was made minutes after HJ has responded to the scene and instructed residents to call 911. I think that's accurate. That's a present tense impression. That makes sense. And then the 911 operator, what is the address of the emergency? Non-hearsay, not for the truth of the matter asserted. And again, just to reiterate, what does that mean? It means that the reason they're admitting the statement, the reason they're offering this statement isn't to prove where the people live, right? They're going to have other ways of doing that. And then again, what's funny here, because she gets the address wrong. Interesting. They omitted the Kings Road part. That's wild, isn't it? Because she says Kings Road. Weird. They left that out. That's pretty interesting. Because she gets the address wrong. Anyway, 1122, non-hearsay, not for the truth of the matter asserted, but also present tense impression. So the state is not quite sure yet how they're going to use this one. And probably part of that is because she gets the address wrong. That's interesting. 911 operator, what is the rest of the address? Non-hearsay, not for the truth of the matter asserted. So, look, guys, look. Oh my God. Hold on. What do we have there? Page 3, line 17. We have my favorite thing of all time from 911 call right here.
It's a house.
For anyone who's like, what the fuck was that? Alex Murdoch answering this exact same question. Is it a house or an apartment? It's a house, he says. That's literally him on the 911 call. Okay. And again, let's just see. So a lot of these are the same. So far, we've not seen any excited utterances. Thank you, Twiz. Thank you, Twiz. Let's see if we've got some excited utterances coming in. Ah, okay, there's an excited utterance. Okay, so female speaker. Oh, and they saw some man. Okay, that's where it changes. Interesting. Okay, so let me read this one. So female speaker, one of our roommates is passed out and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up. Present sense impression. Then we got, oh, and they saw some man in their house last night and they put excited utterance and present sense impression. DM is in the background relaying information. So again, just to reiterate, okay, while I understand how some people might say, oh, it's hearsay because the DM is telling somebody else and that person is telling the person on the phone. The only reason that would matter is because if it is hearsay and there's not an exception, it would be like quadruple hearsay, right? So the number of people, like now, okay, let me back it up. Whenever you've got, and this is a real thing, this is not a joke. Whenever you've got double hearsay, triple hearsay, quadruple hearsay, you have to overcome each of those separately. And honestly, Duffy heard the sidebars. I read the sidebars for that entire trial and watched the entire trial. Okay, we watched the entire trial and read all the sidebars when they happen in actual trial. And I will tell you what, it's like a masterclass on quadruple hearsay, for example, because during those sidebars, Elaine doesn't understand hearsay. Okay. And what you learn is like, well, not you learn, but like what they discuss, what they have to tell Elaine over and over again is they have to explain to her that you have to get over each layer of hearsay. So it's not like one exception is not enough. If you've got quadruple hearsay, you have to overcome each layer. So you have to start from part 4 and then work your way in, if that makes sense. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I'm just seeing what you guys are saying here. So what was funny needs to see something was funny. And so anyway, yeah. So let's just break this one down. So they saw some man in their house last night. I don't know why they included this here because this literally is irrelevant for establishing the authority. Like, that's interesting. I mean, this is going to be tougher. And here's why. Here's the thing. It's being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. And that's the problem here, right? Okay. So each one of these one by one. Why is the state offering this statement? Because one statement at a time, right? This statement. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. They're offering it. Remember, we know it's outside of court. That's not up for debate. So what this means to us then is we know the state is offering this for the truth of the matter asserted, which means they're offering this to prove that there was a man in their house. They're offering it for the truth of the matter asserted, which is important. So the fact that it is, now this is where it can matter, right? It's coming from, they're going to fight over this one. They're going to fight over this one. And I'll be honest, this one is problematic because this is a huge point of contention. And it's at least double hearsay. it's at least double hearsay. Because now, like I said, this is where it can matter. Again, it doesn't have to be a game of telephone to be hearsay, as we've said, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Because even you saying it out loud as in your own statement can count as hearsay. But in this case, where it matters is now you've got double hearsay, right? And like we said, you have to overcome each layer. So, wow. I mean, how are they going to get past, like, okay, so they can get past, I think, the first part, which is DM's statement. Like DM saying they saw someone in the house, fine. But how are they going to get past the female speaker? I don't see how they're going to get through that one. So I think we were talking about, though, Mikey, that was in the text messages. So it's a bit of a different context because we haven't gone through this document yet. Or you might have asked about it, but then I think I said, let's table that until we get to the 911 call. I think that's what happened because we didn't read this document yet. Because I knew they're going to be different, right? There's going to be some overlap, but also there's going to be differences. So yeah, double hearsay. Yep. Heather, love it. Who's toast, Heather? Hang on.
This is a really hard job you guys have.
I just wanted to do that one because hard and job.
Hard as a rock, freeze thaw effects on penetrometer resistance. You know, his head's as hard as a rock.
I can tell this is really funny. So Kane B puts this on at like 0.75 speed because I talk too fast. I love it because I can see where he is in the stream. He's saying if I had 1 million scroll points, I'd probably donate half to the poor. That's funny. Well, for sure need some Z's. No, without a doubt. Yep. But still, the point, like, to me, like, this is still a good exercise, right? Like, because literally every case, every trial, what we're breaking down is how to assess this, right? The statements will always vary, right? But it's the analysis that it will always be applicable for no matter what the case is. Miss Q's satisfied. That's what we like to hear. That is what we like to hear. We want people to be satisfied. That's why I hope when you guys come here, I hope you leave. Okay, sorry. When you guys come, I hope you leave satisfied. Okay. Back to the document. All right. Oh, wow. This continues. Holy fuck. It doesn't end here. It looks like it because the box ends, but wait, there's more. Holy shit. DM is under the current excitement of realizing that her roommate is not waking up after HJ responded to the scene and something could be wrong in the house. It's a house. In the response, she tries to tell her friend what she saw. The friend is relaying that information to dispatch. Good luck, state. Good luck with that. Good luck with that one. And are you with the patient? Not here. So again, some of these are not all nearly as interesting. Okay, next one. Yeah, this is a good one. I don't only know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. Oh dear. Excited utterance and present sense impression. DM is under the current excitement of realizing that her roommate is not waking up and something could be wrong in the house. This is hilarious. Like, why are they you know what this is like? This is like when we're watching a trial and there's an objection and the judge is like, state your legal grounds for the objection. And then the attorney says, well, Your Honor, and it's just like a long ass speaking objection without stating the legal grounds. These diatribes here, and that's the same. And why am I saying that? Because the category here is supposed to be authority for admission. And look at the other examples. Is it hearsay? Is it not hearsay? If it's hearsay, what is the exception? That's it. Like, dude. So again, to me, you can see a lot about how the state feels about the strength of their authority based on how much they're saying. So, yeah. Good luck with those ones. Okay, a lot of these are the same. Hello, hello. This is interesting. Okay, the 911 operator says she breathing, not hearsay, not for the truth of the matter asserted. Hello? Not hearsay, not for the truth. And then again, same question. And then when they say no, present sense impression. And again, what was so interesting was they were never instructed to actually check the body, right? Pulse, CPR. That was odd as fuck to me. That's right, Heather. The defense takes issue. 1 + 1 needing 2 = 2. The state responds with why. Purple is a flavor. Court orders 1 would. Yes. Yep. Right. Yes. Indeed. Agree with you guys. Welcome, official. By the way, you're on your wrong thingamabobber, I think. The defibrillator situation. Right. I know. It is crazy. I've never heard of that in any of these 911 calls that I can think of anyway. Have I ever heard them say, even when they're like, okay, like, even when they're sure that they're dead, like take Alec again, you can take Palmer, like, even when it's like for sure that somebody's dead, like the head's off, no question about, you know what I mean? Like, because people call 911 in a state of shock, again, this is why, right? Because it's like no matter what, you have them go over and check their pulse, or you know, and I don't know how the operators make that determination, right? Sometimes they're like, can you take their pulse? But usually they're like trying to get them to do CPR, right? And I mean, that's what you hear most of the time. I would say 95% of the time, what you end up hearing is you have them saying, okay, we're going to go do CPR, and they walk them through it. And it's like, even if the person's like, I think they're dead, it's like, doesn't matter. We're going to do CPR, right? Because life-saving measures are the most important thing. And sometimes people might think someone's dead when they're not, right? So I know. So, end of audio. Okay. So there we go. The state did not object to the use of the defendant's certified transcript. Okay. Based on oh, did they attach it? Interesting. Okay. Based on the above, the state motions the court to admit the recordings and transcripts of the 911 call to Whitcomb immediately following the discovery of Xana critical unresponsive at 1122 King Road. Okay. And then it looks like we have the certified transcript attached, the defense's version. There we go. Okay. Transcription of audio file entitled. Okay. Interesting. All right. So I wonder how this will be different from the state. So we'll just read through this. So 911 operator, 911 location of your emergency. Hi, something is happening. Something's happened in our house and we don't know what. 911 operator, what is the address of the emergency? 911 operator, or sorry, BF says 1122. 911 operator, what is the rest of the address? BF says, oh, King Road. Interesting. So this certified version does not have Kings plural, but I only heard the first like 10 seconds or whatever. But it sounded like Kings Road, right? Did you guys hear that too? And then the 911 operator says, and is that a house or an apartment? It's a house. 911 operator, can you repeat the address? Make sure I have it right. Female speaker, I'll talk to you as we're inaudible. So we are next to them. 911 operator needs someone to repeat the address for verification. Female speaker, so the address 1122 King Road. 911 operator, and what's the phone number that you're calling from? Female speaker, what's your phone? And then the phone number is fine. Okay. And then, okay, tell me exactly what's going on. Female speaker, one of our roommates is passed out and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up. 911 operator, okay. Yeah, Twiz can join whenever, literally. And then, okay, yeah, now one operator. Okay, female speaker. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Are you guys saying that I should pull this up with the previous transcript? Because that's what I was literally saying. I was like, I wonder how this is different. Well, maybe that's what that was a rhetorical question and I should have just pulled it up. Let me find that one. Okay. So States Exhibit S2. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's do a side by side. Okay. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we can see more of it at once. See, this one says Kings Road. Interesting. That's interesting. So this is Exhibit S2. And then on this one, let me just do this. This is, I think this was S1, it said? Where was it? Where does it say? Yep. Okay. Yep. Exhibit S1. So they have S1 and S2. Interesting. Transcription of audio file. Okay. So we'll break it down. Okay. So we'll see what's different. So I pointed it out already. It's really funny. So the thing about Kings versus King, right? That's one difference. That's noteworthy to me anyway. Let me just zoom out a little bit more so we can see more of it at once. So that's one difference. And I can actually highlight this to highlight the differences. So did this say I need someone to repeat the address for verification. Okay, so far from what I have that's the only difference is the King versus Kings plural. Let's do this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I've done this before. If you guys remember for the text messages, I have versions that I've saved that are highlighted with differences from the previous version. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So on this recent filing here, which is the Defense's certified transcript of the audio recording, I'm highlighting the differences from the other transcript we had from the state. Okay. So I'm going to skip past the phone number part. Okay, so let's take a look at this section and see what's different. One of our roommates was passed out and she was drunk last night. She's not waking up. And they saw some man in their house last night. I think these are the same on that section. What is going on currently? Someone passed out right now. Yeah, those are the same on that part. Okay. I don't really know. But pretty much at 4 a.m. Okay, I need to know what's going on right now. If someone is passed out, can you find that out? DM, yeah, I'll come on. We got to go check, but we have to. Is she passed out? That might be different. Let me take a look at this. She's passed out. I think they're slightly different. Yeah, they are. That's so funny. That's how good. So you guys, they're different right there. I was right about that. That's wild. I'm actually kind of surprised that I noticed that because it's not like I read it a ton. So look at the difference. Wow, that's a big difference. So Dylan's answer here. So again, the 911 operator. Okay, I need to know what's going on right now. If someone is passed out, can you find that out? And then Dylan says, yeah, I'll come. Come on. We got to go check, but we have to. Is she passed out? And then the initial version that we had from the state said, yeah, I'll come. Come on. We got to go check, but we have to. Is she passed out? She's passed out. What's wrong? Yeah, I'll come on. Come on. We got to go check. Yeah, I'll come on. Come on. We got to go check. So what's the difference here? Look at this. So they redacted Bethany's name. So what's happening here is Dylan is saying to Bethany, yeah, I'll come. Come on, Bethany. We got to go check. But we have to. Is she passed out? And then here, that's insane. They really added, this is a big difference that they edited in this one for sure. For sure. Wow. Hi, Kimmy. Welcome. Okay, so let's highlight that one. Actually, I'm just going to highlight the whole fucking thing. It'll be easier. Hi, I'm Kat. Welcome. And for anyone who's just, oh my God, just now getting here, this stream will also redirect you guys into our next stream. Oh my gosh, look at this silliness. Our next stream, which will be Lori Vallow, featuring also, can't we just like work? Featuring also, oh my God, featuring also a special culty thing that we're going to watch. Adobe, though. You know what this is making me want to do is one of those AI journeys, but now's not the time. Now's not the time. All right, that's fine. That's good job, squirrel. Good job, squirrel. Oh, it does. I mean, it's kind of cool. It looks like it's on purpose, which it's not. So anyway, just know it's all supposed to be highlighted yellow. Kimmy has a question for Twiz. Does that mean you want Twiz to come on? You know, we did say we got to do our Twiz reads segment, but I think he doesn't want to do that at this juncture. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so what's wrong? She's not waking up. Okay, let me look back at this one. Okay, I'm getting, oh, Xana. Guess what's also missing from this one? Holy fuck. Okay, so when they say, what's wrong? She's not waking up. Then the response is Xana. Wow. Wow. Oh, weird. Also, unconsciousness 1122 King Road 07 is en route. Hold on. What? Where the fuck is that? Look, guys. Okay, hang on. So here's the part I just highlighted, all wonky, right? And then we have Dylan saying, what's wrong? She's not waking up. Okay. So that would be right here, right? She's not waking up in terms of where they're at, right? Because these are not matching up exactly. This is interesting. The next thing we have here is unconsciousness 1122 King Road 07 is en route. Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way. Okay, maybe. Look at all that. Now we do have wow, this is really different. Sorry, because then multiple RPs on the phone. Wow, there's a lot of differences. This is going to be okay. So So the Xana is just missing, right, from the other one. So we'll do that. And then, okay, well, let's go to this part. So how old is she? She's 20. Hmm. So some of you guys are saying something about the age, right? So in this version, right, this is the defense's version, certified transcript, right? Oh my God. This is very different from the other one. So this one says 911 operator, okay, and how old is she? And then Dylan says she's 20. And then 911 operator says 20, you said? Yes, 20. Here, talk to them. See, that's missing from this. So here, see what I mean? This one says here, that question's missing. And you just get that one I copy about a 20-year-old, but you don't get the part where anyone answers her age here. So what I want to know is this: how the fuck are they so different, right? Was there more than one person on the phone with 911? Like, was there more than one were they what? I'm just seeing what you guys are saying in the chat. Okay, you guys are talking about the phone being off or not. And also, did I already say hello to Angel? Hi, Angel. If I didn't already say hello to you, it's, as you guys know, it's harder when I'm reading documents because it's harder to read the chat, and so sometimes, I mean, I don't know if anyone's asking me this question, but what I will say is that the phone doesn't have to be off. It could also, other possibilities include it being on airplane mode and having location services toggled off, right? Or potentially, depending on what the data shows, it could be it's out of service. It depends. And the Celebrate report, if we ever get there, would give us that information. But it's not like the only options are on or off. I just wanted to put that on the record. It could also be that it's location services toggled off and on airplane mode, but it would have to be both. MCAT's confused. What are you? Can I clarify something for you, MCAT? Do you have a question? Right? They only mentioned Xana. I know. Okay, right. Why, okay, MCAT clarifying there, why Maddie and Kaylee are not mentioned. Yeah, or Ethan, right? Yeah, the YouTube. YouTube. Oh my God, the timing data. That's right. He does say in the affidavit about the timing data would show if the phone was on or off. Again, this is where it gets tricky, right? The would show. If you don't know what it would show, how, you know what I mean? If you don't have it, then you can't. That's why we talked about that earlier, because I've been thinking about that, right? It's like, it's just like the whole thing with the exculpatory evidence, because if you don't have it, you can't say it's for sure exculpatory. And that's where that different standard that varies by the state matters. Right? Yeah, I know. It's weird. So, okay. So the thing about the age is very different. And I think somebody was answering my question about this because, yeah, so here they get the question out ahead of time. How old is she? She's 20. So whoever it was that was asking, like, how did they know ahead of time? How did they already know her age? Here you can see the questions asked. So I'm just pointing that out. It's not asked here. Like, you don't see that, right? So that is odd. But on this one, it's asked. So I'm going to highlight that because that's a difference. Oh my God, Adobe. Okay, we'll just see if we can do that. And then actually, this is all. Okay, that's good. And I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 400 people. Okay, sorry, just give you the phone. Is she breathing? Hello, is she breathing? No, that's the same. I remember that part. I need you to talk to them. I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so this one says Bethany or Dylan. I need you to talk to them. Okay, I can't. I need you to talk. Okay. So on this one, it says, this is the HJ saying, Dylan, I need you to talk to them. I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them. That's similar enough, I think. I've already sent ambulance law enforcement, stay online. Okay, and then here's the bit about the defibrillator. And that's pretty much the same. Yeah, okay, yeah. And they're talking to the officer. That was a misunderstanding about the defibrillator. We've talked about that one before on other live streams. So, well, this isn't time-stamped, though. Actually, neither of them are time-stamped. So how do we know when they actually arrive there? The officer. Good night, Kimmy. Good night, good night. So, okay, so then end of audio. And then what is this saying here? Okay, so here's the transcriber. So I'm a certified or a notary public. I transcribed. Excelente. There it is. There you go. So let me save my changes here. Before I forget. Oh, I'll have to do that later because I have to sign in and everything. Okay, so next up. All right, reply to state's response. So another defense filing, vague and undisclosed expert testimony. Oh, no sirens heard on audio. That's true. That's true. Now, I will say that here in the US, because I know you're in Australia, they don't always, well, it sort of depends. Like okay, where I happen to live, there's like fire stations and whatnot, like all nearby, right? Like first responders can get to where I live really quickly. And even, I think I even told you guys, right, that on New Year's Eve, there was a shooting literally across the street from me. Like, I mean, I could literally throw something that close. It's that close. It's really fucking close. It's not like I'm a pitcher or anything. No, I'm not a sports ball person. Anyway, but basically, it was a murder. It was a homicide, still unsolved, right? They didn't run. There were no sirens. I was actually awake. I was awake and I was here, and they didn't even have their lights on because I totally would have noticed. There were no lights, no sirens because they were already nearby. And so, you know, because there was no need, like now, if it's a place where they need to travel far enough or there's enough traffic, because I was actually bummed because my mom the next day was like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Did you hear, you know, the shooting?" And I'm like, "What?" And then when I learned where it was, I was like, I was literally right here. I think I was live streaming actually. And I was like, how did I miss that? Like, I would have wanted to be like, what's going on? What's the scuttlebutt? You know, terrible idea. Don't ever do that. But that's what I would want to do. And I'm like, how the fuck did I miss it? You know, like literally I have my windows right there. I'm like looking right at it. You know what I mean? I completely missed the entire thing. So anyway, just saying. So we don't, you know, just because they didn't have, now they might have been nearby. I don't know. I'm just saying they don't always have lights and sirens, but we don't know. Or I don't know anyway. Huh. Are you talking about for the shooting near me? It was outside. It was outside in the parking lot of a business that was closed. Right. Sometimes they're ordered to go without sirens. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious. Spencer says, hearsay, Chelsea, you inquire about what my mom said. Yes, if it's being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. So for example, okay, let's just say that I'm charged with a crime, right? In this scenario, Spencer says if I'm in court. If I'm charged with a crime and my whereabouts are at issue, like the timing of was I at home or was I not at home? Was I actually the one doing the murder? There we go. Was I actually the one doing the murder or was I actually at home live streaming, right? Then it would be hearsay because then it would be offered for the truth of the matter asserted, as if to say, I totally missed it because I was at home. Does that make sense? MCAT says dispatch has decision tree and it all depends on how calls are coded for dispatch. Thank you. It was outside and I missed it. Now I may have been outside. I was either inside or outside. I may have been outside letting Frodo out. I don't know. But like the point, like everything echoes out here. It's crazy. I think I was talking about that yesterday. Everything echoes big time out here. Like if a leaf blows on the road, it sounds like something crazy is happening. It's really wild, especially at night when it's quiet. And but like I always have my blinds open because I just like having windows. And so anyway, I'm always watching everything. I'm that person. I'm like, what's going on? So anyway, but I was awake and I was here with the windows and like literally where I'm standing right now, I can literally see where it happened from where I'm standing. I don't even have to move. I can see directly to where that shooting happened. It's pretty insane. And yeah, the victim was outside. It was in a parking lot. You listened to, what are you talking about, Mikey, that you listened so hard for? Oh, we have a new squirrel friend. Norma, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome if you're new. I mean, I haven't seen you in the chat before, so you're new to me, so welcome. I threw Twiz. Stop it. He says I threw something in the pic. I'm saying it was that close I could have. Oh my God, Twiz. You did it, didn't you? Yeah, that's why it's unsolved. Oh, well, I just confessed. So it's less about what the person says. What matters is who's offering it, right? So if the state's offering it, it may not matter to the person who's on the witness stand whether or not, like, you know what I mean? Like if they're just whatever, like, but it's the state has a reason that the state is offering it for the truth. So in other words, what I'm saying is this: in terms of the truth of the matter asserted, it's not up to the witness to decide what is being offered for the truth. It's for the state or the defense. It's for whichever party is calling the witness. They're the ones that are deciding how the statement is going to be used, not the witness. The witness is just answering questions, right? So does that help at all? It's less about fighting over is the thing true or not, and it's more about is it being offered to prove something else as being true. That's a distinction there. Okay, so all right, so now we are on right. That is correct about this with the defibrillator. Yeah, we've talked about that before. It was a misunderstanding because there was lots going on, and they didn't know the officer was there. Okay, so right, so defense filing. So all right, to the state's response, vague and undisclosed expert testimony. All right. So some of this is background. The reality and gravity of 68 terabytes of information cannot be overstated. Mr. Kohberger's Capital Defense team has spent over 2 years devouring as much of the data as possible. The team has not completed review. His team does not have hundreds of people to locate and talk about various pieces of information contained in the discovery. The state does. Mr. Kohberger is protected by the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of Idaho. He has the right to a fair trial, to have effective assistance of counsel, to confront evidence against him. He has the right not to be convicted unless the state proves his case beyond. I mean, a lot of this we all know. I'm not going to read all it. But by the way, I'm just thinking about this, right? So this is slated to go to trial August. Those of you guys who were there for earlier this morning, I guess it was this morning, when we were covering Xana Gardner, also death penalty case, right? That's slated to go to trial in October. So I was just thinking 2 months difference. And when you look at how much further behind they are in the Xana Gardner case because of the discovery issues there and the attorney-client privilege being leaked and the evidence.com and all that, it's mind-blowing. Like, it blows my mind to think about that's only 2 months difference in terms of when the trial is supposed to start. But like in terms of where they're at, it feels like a year. It's pretty crazy. In terms of how far behind they are compared to this case, I mean. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead here. I may zoom out while we find it. So this is all pretty much the same arguments as before. The state then, with the advantage of Mr. Kohberger's expert disclosures, continue to trickle new opinions to the defense. The state cannot be allowed to benefit at the expense of Mr. Kohberger's right to a fair trial, confrontation, due process, and assistance of counsel. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's expected to go 3 months, this trial. Oh, interesting. Okay. Cool. Okay, so now we're getting into the state's expert witnesses, but I need to get some more water. So hang on just 1 second, guys. I can't believe they still don't have a suspect for that shooting because it was, again, it's this point, it's been a while. It was crazy. I mean, the pictures were like out of a movie. There were shell casings everywhere. It's insane. And that's true. If it goes to trial, that's true, Twiz. Who died, Spencer? Oh, you're talking about OJ. Right. Yeah, he died. Okay. So Anderson. So this witness is an expert from NMS Labs that performs testing for substances a deceased has consumed. His work encompassed Ethan, Xana, and Kaylee. Reports are included. No other opinion has been provided. Testimony should be limited to involvement in an opinion within the report, which is no more than the quantity of drugs found in blood. Okay, interesting. Errors. This witness works at the Idaho State Police Forensics Lab. Great. She was on scene. Okay, let's see here. So initial disclosure. Swabbing, blood, presumptive blood, buccal swabs. So what I'm looking for here, right, is where are we going to get any ideas to the opinions that will be offered, right? That's mostly what I think will be interesting here. Okay, Aries will testify about DNA. DNA is a genetic material contained in human cells that may be utilized for human identification. DNA may be present on an item in the form of biological material such as blood, semen, and saliva, or may be left on an item when it is handled, such as touch DNA. Biological evidence in possible potential DNA evidence is collected for preservation and may be sent for further testing by qualified DNA analysts. Crime scene personnel do not test or screen for DNA specifically. And then we have Ballance. Great. We learned a lot about him in Cyray's affidavit. All right, let's see what this says. The initial disclosure stated he would testify about how cell towers work and interact with cell phones. His testimony would include what records related to personal cell phones are available and how they are used. S.A. Ballance will testify consistent with the historical cellular phone data provided to the defendant in discovery. S.A. Ballance will explain the methodology used to create his report, which is attached here to as Exhibit S2B. Interesting. S.A. Ballance will discuss how call detail records provided by AT&T were used to create cell site maps contained in his report, including his corroboration of the mapping with the records provided. S.A. Ballance will also explain in detail what the mapping in his report reflects. This is very interesting because this, I think, was filed before, or at least this came out just before the affidavits. But in terms of the order that we got to them, because there were so many things, we read the affidavit immediately when it came out. Yesterday. So, interesting. What qualifications, Mikey, here? Are the qualifications same for law enforcement testifying on the stand as trial? Oh, I see what you're saying, as it is for grand jury testimony. His time served to qualify. I'm not sure what you're asking, Mikey. Are you saying if he changes what his qualifications are or something? Good night, MCAT. Payne's lack of I think maybe what's happening is the time served might be confusing me. Like, are you talking about how much time Payne has been working as a law enforcement officer? Or are you talking about how much time somebody has served in the prison system? Or you like time served, I think might be, I don't know. Oh, years under his belt. Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. That's correct. Yes. That does still apply. Yes, that does still apply. Yep. That's a good question. Yep. And I do think that varies by the state, but yes, every state does have rules like that for law enforcement. That is correct. The same would be true. That's a good question. I see what you're saying. I got you now. Yes. And the thing is that it still happens all the time in trials with law enforcement officers, especially if they're like, okay, like you'll see objections all the time in trials with law enforcement officers when they go to testify about something that another officer said or did. And it's entirely possible that the reason that objection is happening is because they've already discussed like ahead of time, like it could be because of the years, right? In other words, however, I think that I mean, I'm sure it's happened, like where there's been times where there's been people that like where you'll hear an objection for law enforcement officer with hearsay, but then it does get overruled. So I do think that I think it varies. I mean, the thing is this, right? Even if they have the minimum year requirement, a judge can still say no, right? Like it's always up to the discretion. So like even if they have the minimum year requirement and there's like objection, hearsay, and then they're like, oh well, no, they've got the minimum year requirement, the judge can still say sustained. I mean, it's just possible. So it just depends. So much is in the discretion of the court. One good example is in the Casey Anthony trial. There's a lot of differences there that I've never seen in a trial before that are very specific to that judge. For example, you can only cross-examine on literally what came up in direct exam. I've never seen that before. And I'm forgetting what else, but there's a number of things. So if he gets it written, it counts. I'm not sure what you're referencing there. Okay, so, all right, let me take a look here. So it is noteworthy that the state has never disclosed S.A. Balance's methodology used to create his report. He has never disclosed how his maps were created. S.A. Balance has omitted over 90% of the data during the relevant times he chose to map. There are no disclosures as to why this data was omitted. Right, okay. S.A. Ballance will provide his opinion as to the general locations in which the target cellular phones were located at various times before and after the homicides at 112 King Road and the cellular phone's direction of travel. That testimony will rely on information furnished by cellular phone providers concerning which cell towers the cellular phones connected with during those times. S.A. Ballance may also testify regarding which cellular tower sectors were utilized for the relevant data and explain that the direction of the cellular tower sector utilized can indicate the general location of the cell phone relative to the tower utilized. The state has never produced an actual opinion by S.A. Ballance about the general location, Mr. Kohberger's cellular telephone was at various times before and after the homicides at 112 King Road and the cellular phone's direction of travel. Norma's asking, how can you perform an opinion? Do you mean form an opinion if you were never qualified in that field? Are you talking about with expert witnesses? Or are you talking about S.A. Ballance specifically? Let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions if you can just be a little more specific. Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. They're not offering Payne as an expert, though, are they? That could be one of those things that they're doing, but it's so dumb I deleted it in my brain. There's a couple things like that happen. Some of you guys may have heard me say that before, where I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that thing. It was so dumb I deleted it in my brain. They're not offering Payne as an expert, though, right? I mean, I can't fathom that. Like, if they are, that's in that category of so dumb my brain deleted it. So I'll just say that much. Okay, rebuttal disclosure state responds to defense disclosures, but in doing so, it continues to refuse to provide expert analysis and opinion. The FBI CAST team here conducts drag testing using a Gladiator developed by Gladiator Forensics. The Gladiator collects the data, which is then analyzed by Gladiator Forensics software. The software creates the coverage maps seen on several pages of the report. The coverage maps are created using the actual measurements taken by the Gladiator and interpolation using them. Oh, we heard about this in the affidavit. Right, the officers who worked the case. So they're not going to be offered as experts. Usually they're not. Typically they're not. Most law enforcement's not going to be. But having said that, we are reading here the expert witness disclosures that are vague from the state. So are you referencing, though, at the suppression hearing? I mean, experience, that's normal. Like, that's normal, right? Like, no, even if law enforcement's not going to be offered as an expert, you're always going to have defense attorneys asking about their experience. And usually, you're going to have it on direct from the state too. Because even if they're not being offered as an expert, you want everybody who's testifying, especially if they're law enforcement, you want them to look experienced for the jury, right? You want them to look like they know what they're doing, right? Even if they're not being offered as an expert. Yeah, good question from Spencer. I wonder how experts who are qualified get accepted as experts, but basically, right. So it's a whole thing. And there's a lot of cases where we see a lot about this. Like, for example, on Karen Reed, we've been following, like, you got your Daubert Lanigan hearings. There's different standards and tests that measure it. Okay. When I say measure it, I mean, it's like a way to determine, right? So in other words, they have to be testifying in a field that is accepted, right? So, like, I'll give an example. Like, if somebody wants to offer an expert opinion on magic wands, right? It's not going to pass the test. Why? Because magic wands are not an established field, right, of expertise. What is an established field of expertise? Cell phone forensics, as an example, right? There's a million, but just as one example. So it's a number of things. Like, first of all, the expert has to have requisite training and experience. And that is somewhat subjective, right? But sometimes it's overwhelmingly obvious, right? And so that's one thing. The second thing is, like, the field that they're offering an opinion on has to be recognized by that particular community as a field of expertise. And then they also have to offer a methodology, right, that is recognized in that field. And when I say all this, there's also additional and more specific standards that can vary by the state or the jurisdiction. But this is just overview in general for you, Spencer. And so yeah, their background, training, experience. Is it an accepted field of expertise? Is there a methodology? Did they review all the discovery? There's all these different things. And then expert witnesses, depending on if it's criminal or civil, the rules are different. But for, typically they're going to have to write a report. In criminal trials, defense witnesses don't have to. Defense experts don't have to. But anyway, there's a whole lot more to it. And we break it down more when it comes up, when there's like voir dire or Daubert hearing, something like that. But hopefully that helps give an overview. It's not usually it's not easy. It depends. I mean, you do have outliers like Trooper Paul in the Karen Reed case, but typically they, and they get paid a lot of money. They do. So Mikey says, like, I was curious about his testimony on conversations and assumptions on communications. Well, he can't be testifying on assumptions because that would be, they would object to speculation on that. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to remember which day that is, Norma, that you're referencing. If that was, are you talking about the May 30th, 2024 hearing, or are you talking about January 24th of this year? Crazy that I have those dates just kind of like memorized, but whatever. No, I've not listened to it, the full thing. I heard like the first 10 seconds or something of it, and inadvertently. Yeah, do you know which one you're referencing there, Norma? I feel like that might have been the one from this year, but part of that is trying to establish who did what work, right? I mean, that's because that was part of their, in terms of, at least for like the motions to suppress and stuff, a lot of what they were basing that on was, remember, one of their grounds, right, was like the affidavit, that they all used the same affidavit. They all used Brett Payne's affidavit, right? I think that's probably why you're asking that, what that's about. So, because a lot of them were relying on that same affidavit. So they had to figure out who did what, because if, the affidavit is, well, hopefully, I don't know, I can elaborate if needed, but I bet that probably will help, because most of you guys probably already familiar with what I'm mentioning there. Oh, when they had the closed hearing, which closed hearing doesn't narrow it down. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. So, okay. Right, we covered that part. He omitted 95% of the relevant coverage maps. The disclosure goes on. FBI CAST examines each transaction in the raw records to determine reliability based on several factors. As an example, when an AT&T data session is initiated on AT&T's network that is not following a timeout of a previous data session, AT&T records the first cell site and then subsequent cell sites associated with the session if applicable. The state does not disclose SA Balance's review of reliability. The state is creating legal room for Balance to testify to something undisclosed at this time. This particular area impacts 7 minutes of time and exculpatory information. This is the 7 minutes between 2:47 and 2:54. The state applied for search warrants and its arrest warrant claiming Mr. Kohberger's phone stopped reporting to the network at 2:47 a.m. The state later had to concede, based on its own discovery disclosures, that the phone went off network at 2:54 a.m. Between the time of 2:47 and 2:54 a.m., while the phone was on and receiving service, it was utilizing cell towers. The phone was not stationary and utilizing only one tower. The phone was not moving during 7 minutes. I'm going to have to read this part again. What do you mean cookie cutter? Okay, I'm going to read this part again because this is interesting. The state later had to concede, based on its own discovery disclosures, that the phone went off the network at 2:54 a.m. Between the time of 2:47 and 2:54 a.m., while the phone was on and receiving service, it was utilizing cell towers. The phone was not stationary and utilizing only one tower. The phone was moving during the 7 minutes. That's where the handoffs come in. Right. And that, literally, keep reading, Chelsea. During the 7 minutes, the towers hand off service as the phone is moving. These handoffs, once analyzed, locate the direction of movement and the location of the phone when it stops reporting at 2:54 a.m. The state asserts SA Balance mapped this data, but has not produced it. The state must be required to disclose what it is not saying here. The state must not be allowed to ambush Mr. Kohberger at trial by stating something that is not grounded in record. So, this came up, of course, you guys heard at the January 23rd hearing, the famous 7 minutes. And it's a big deal. That's why, that was a huge point of contention then. This is just clarifying exactly what it is, that the phone was still moving for 7 minutes because of the handoffs, right? So why that puts the phone, right? What is it doing? It's pointing to the location and direction, right? Literally what that is saying, right? And then presumably where the phone is located and pointed is also the person in the car, maybe, right? The state must be required to disclose what it is not saying here. The state must not be allowed to ambush Mr. Kohberger at trial by stating something that is not grounded. Oh, I read that one. Okay. The state goes on to say handoff data is analyzed on page 13 of the CAST PowerPoint. There was no analysis. SA Balance is not mapped a single handoff in the work product produced. These ignored handoffs are the handoffs occurring during the described 7 minutes. Analyzing those depict exculpatory evidence. It is important to understand handoff data makes up more than 85% of the defendant's AT&T network connections. SA Balance's opinion as to why he can omit those connections in one part of his report while relying on them in others must be clearly stated. The state does not provide basis or analysis for SA Balance's claim that Mr. Kohberger was using a tower that services the King Road address. Instead, they say this: Generating a report of all of the defendant's movements from June 2022 to December 2022 would be overly broad, unnecessary, and prolong the jury's service with details not relevant to prosecution. So I'm just seeing what Spencer's question is here. I'm not quite sure what you're asking, Spencer, about lying. You know, it's in the province of the jury to determine witness credibility, whether it's an expert witness or not. That's the jury's job. They get to determine credibility, and juries are told at every trial, whether it's criminal or civil, right? They can believe all of something a witness says, none of something a witness says, some of something a witness says. It is completely up to them to determine the credibility of the witness based on what they see from the testimony. Lie detector tests are a myth. There's actually good stories about former detectives and shit like that who say that they've done interrogations before where they said they were going to do a lie detector test to a suspect, and they literally, there's one story that I've heard where they took an empty toilet paper roll, like the cardboard. They literally took that and like a calculator and pretended that it was some system for a lie detector test, and the person thought it was. It's just a tool to try to get someone to be more nervous so they can confess. Yeah. The ones where they actually hook you up to stuff, all that's really doing is measuring your like heart rate or whatever, which that's what it's measuring. It's not measuring if you're lying, right? It's measuring your heart rate, and there's all these different variables. But the point being that usually when they're offered, it's really just as a tool. It's an interrogation tool to try to get people to be more nervous. Yeah, I know. It's awful. Agreed. With the help of this very expert, the state sought and received AT&T phone records from Mr. Kohberger from June 2022. Oh, wait, did I already read this one? No, I didn't. Okay, through December 2022. In affidavits supporting search and arrest, the state averred that Mr. Kohberger's phone data depicted numerous occasions where it utilized a tower servicing the King Road address. The state supplied essay Ballance as an expert and disclosed his PowerPoint with slides 29 and 30 claiming the same thing. It is noteworthy that the dates of this alleged behavior have been changed over the course of this expert's work. What the state has failed to do is provide the analysis of the claim. Mr. Kohberger will face his capital jury without the state backing up this claim. The state does not have connection between Mr. Kohberger and anyone that was at 1122 King Road. The state puts this information out to attempt to establish a connection, while the state has chosen not to disclose the analysis Mr. Kohberger has disclosed. Wait, let me read that again. While the state has chosen not to disclose the analysis, Mr. Kohberger has disclosed the analysis. The analysis shows the falsity of the state's expert's slide. The real analysis is exculpatory to Mr. Kohberger. This must be excluded from the state's presentation. Now, remember that we started out earlier in the stream talking about exculpatory, right? So they must have the data, right, to say it's exculpatory. Again, we talked about that. Okay. The state provides its reason, the cast draft, and let me just back up and say this. I mean, for the legal standard, in order, like legally speaking in Idaho, if they really want to, if this is, a motion to dismiss with prejudice, right? If that's coming, they're going to have to prove exculpatory, and in order to do that, they have to have it. They can't go with could have been, which is the standard in New Mexico. This must be excluded from the state's presentation. Okay, the state provides its reason. The cast draft and cast final PowerPoints are different in size. Cast utilizes a peer review process of any work product prior to it being presented at trial. This peer review process is meant to ensure the final report is accurate, provides clarity to raw cellular records and relevance to the state's presentation. The state has failed to provide any documentation of its peer review process and opinions as to why changes were made. This disclosure addresses AT&T timing advance records. Mr. Kohberger respectfully requests the court look to the pleading and affidavit he filed. Yes. Let me see what you're saying here. So the state does not provide basis or analysis for SA Balance's claim that Mr. Kohberger was using a tower that services the King Road address. A tower. That means like any tower. That's how I would interpret that. Okay. I think that's the only time. Okay, there's another word. Numerous occasions where you lost a tower. A tower. A tower. Yeah. So I mean, there's more than there's many towers that technically can service that area, at least from my recent checking of the maps on the towers. Now that does change, right? That's the other thing too, because Twiz and I have talked about this, right, Twiz? Like how it's possible that at the time it was different, but like now there's like more than 3 towers that actually will service that house. So, that's a good question from Heather. In 7 minutes. Right, 5+ including Lewiston. Right, that's the towers. Right, yeah. Every time that I go back and check, I feel like I see another tower that I'm like, oh well, I must have forgotten that one covers it too. So that could mean that I just forgot that there was even more towers than I remembered, or it could be that there's additional coverage. But 5+, I would, yeah, definitely, because I was just looking at this like what, yesterday or day before. Yeah. So in other words, even the towers that are quite far away, you know, like for example, we can pull up. Let's do this, even though these aren't, well, they should still be pretty accurate. Let me pull up some of these maps here. The towers. Right. So while I have not, okay, let me share this to you guys. So while I haven't updated this with the new information, I don't know that it would actually change very much in terms of this zoomed out version. The blue being the state's theory, right, of the route. Essentially, the point here is seeing basically the areas that are being offered of where potentially the car could have been, or the phone, whatever, and where the towers are located. So those are, you can probably see those are real 5G towers. I colorized them so you can see them. Those are in the actual location of where the towers are. And then I also have the maps of the coverage. So if that purple is the defense, right? So blue is the state, purple is the defense. So like, for example, can you guys see my mouse? So like the point I was going to make here, like what Twiz was saying too, like, so I don't think this tower, but like there's towers all the way down here. And again, I think I've got the maps coming up, but that will service the house. So even if you look, so here's 112 Duke King, right? There's 3 towers right nearby. They all service the house. But additionally, you've got towers all the way down here that also service it, is the point. And see, if I zoom out even further now, we get even more towers. So those are all in their actual location. And let me just see. Yeah, so like here's this tower, for example, that some of you guys are familiar with. I just have to unshare, reshare. There you go. So yeah, so this is the Lewiston Tower that Twiz was referencing. And as you can see, right, it covers all the way up to the house, but also it covers the route that potentially, you know, that Lewiston, right? So this is what's interesting here is, right, like this could be, you know, that time, what is it, 4:54, right? When the phone reports back to the network, right? Interesting. So Twiz, they're saying it's 3 towers. It could be, again, like I said, right? Remember when I said that they get updated? So the 5 plus is like recently, right? So maybe that's a difference, right? So maybe it was 3 at the time. Entirely possible. Twiz and I both go back to those maps quite frequently, and we've both noticed how we've seen changes. So sorry, so there's only 3 towers, and then Heather says there were 3 FCC registered towers in Moscow, meaning the address is inside the city of Moscow. Yeah, I mean, what I will say is, like, the map I just showed you guys, where it was the 3 towers right near Moscow. At this juncture, all 3 of those will provide service to the address, but it could have been different then at the time, like I keep saying. Yeah, the towers that only service 911 in an emergency are in red boxes, so we don't click on those. See how you can even see it right here. See the red boxes? We don't, those towers, while they appear here, I did not add those to the maps I made. So for example, on these maps that I made, I only included the towers that are green, which means the non-emergency towers. So does that make sense? So I only used the towers that service for cell phones. Right. Yes, they're red on the map. Exactly. I excluded those. I did not put them on. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, if I go to the thingy with the towers, there's 3 towers that will provide coverage to the house, but it could have been different at the time, and that's what they will have to go off of. Oh, I've got that. I got you guys on that one. Hold on. Watch me. Watch me now. Boom, boom, boom. Let me go back. Okay, hang on. Here we go. Look. Wait, those are some sample masks that was sent to somebody, one of our school friends from Discord. Okay, so where do I have it? There we go. Okay. So I superimposed all these different maps, right? This has been a long process here. So anyway, so I superimposed the Twiz map with the cell towers with actual map so we can see what we're looking at. And then here I superimposed all that with Brett Payne's shitty ass drawing from the PCA and tried to, as you can see, right, the bulge down there at the bottom right and where actual roads are. And then there I superimposed. So I took this and I added another layer. And now this is the bands, right? Again, when I mapped the towers, I didn't do the ones in red because those were your emergency towers. And then and that's how I ended up. This was a lot of time to do this, but put these exactly where they're located. But anyway, I just showed you guys those. So, Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I superimposed all kinds of shit here. Yeah. Huh. Oh, that's the geofence there. I mapped that out. That's the whole thing. Yeah. That's a good question. So there would be an exception for that, and it could be like public records. That would be an exception to hearsay. I think that's how they would get that in, depending on the type of map. Now, depending on the type of map, right? Should qualify that depending on whose map it is. For example, the maps that they're talking about with SA Balance, completely different type of map. So you need a geofence map? Well, I can send it to you. I mapped, so the one that I'd mapped out, you can ignore the orange and the blue because we got more information since I made this in terms of the route that the state thinks that he took in and out to get to the house. So you can ignore the orange and the blue for the possible routes because, again, I made this, a couple weeks ago. However, what's still good is the geofence. I mapped this out painstakingly by measuring it for the geofence and plotting all of these. So if you look at okay, let me show you what it is. So all those dots, right? I measured it from the house and I plotted all these different dots so that I had exactly the exact, like, I think it's, what is it? I think it's half a mile, right? Pretty sure it's half a mile. But whatever it was. And then, yeah, no, it's half a mile. So I measured that and then I plotted it in points like that. And then I drew the circle. So then you get the actual geofence. So, yeah, thank you. Yes. Half a mile. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Okay. I haven't done a 2-mile one yet. I can do a 2-mile one. I will do that. I'll add on. Thank you for that, Heather. I'll add the 2 miles in then. This is the half a mile. This is the half a mile. So what I can do is, this will have to be zoomed out. Yeah, when I can make one that's for 2 miles and then I'll have to redo the half a mile within that one. But this is still true. This is still good. This is still good for the half a mile. So Norma's saying, well, if I drive 30 minutes without a tower, will my phone show it was turned off? Okay, so technically a phone cannot show it's turned off. The way that you determine that is a lack of activity. So I've got a lot of presentations that we've watched on other live streams about this, but just to try to summarize it briefly. You really need a Celebrate report to know for sure. Alex Murdoch is a great example of that. Well, what is it? Libby's phone from Delphi, also a great example too. So, the phone will always be trying to connect to a tower if it's on, if it's not on airplane mode, if it's just out of service, or if it has service, right? It's always going to be trying to connect to a tower and ping a tower. If it's out of service, it tries to do that even more. Now, what does that mean? It means that it's trying to ping to a tower. So that will show up in a Celebrate report. You also have, there's like so much. There's a lot of different factors, and actually the little video presentation I have that breaks it down step by step is probably the easiest way to explain that. But I don't know where I have that, but it's in other live streams. Essentially though, long story short, it's a lack of activity, right? That's the way you can tell. Like, a Celebrate report will not show cell phone turned off, cell phone turned on. The way that you can figure it out is a lack of activity, because even if you're not using a phone, even if it's out of service, even if you have even if you have location data toggled off, and even if you have airplane mode on, there will still be background processes in the phone that happen because it's a computer. It's going to be and that's going to be in the knowledge C database or your SQLite database. That's going to be in your Celebrate report. It's going to show the phone doing things in the background anyway, even if it's just an orientation change. Even if it's just a backlight comes on. Even if it's just backing something up, the phone will be doing things. So the way they can determine it, it's context clues. Because if they look at the normal activity for the phone and they look and it's like, oh, for 2 hours, the phone's doing literally nothing. Nothing. I'm talking about in the Celebrate report. The phone is not doing anything. Then that's how you figure out that it was off because it's the only explanation. If that makes sense. Hopefully. GPS is not always on. If you turn location services off, and again, that's in my presentation, but if you turn location services off, that turns off GPS. Yes, and the only way to for sure, like if you're actually wanting to make sure for sure that your cell phone, like let's just say that you want your phone to not be tracked, okay? The only way to do that for sure is 3 things. First, airplane mode. Second, take the SIM card out. Third, power it off. 3 things to be sure for sure. Because of this. Remember when I said the phones are always trying to connect? And that's why they're so likely to even show activity, right? That's the thing. Because phones are so trying to connect and they're still going to be logging information that in order to like be for sure, that's why they say you can't just turn it off. Like the only way for sure is to take the SIM card out, airplane mode, SIM card out, and put it in airplane mode. That's what they do. Like law enforcement will do those 3 things and then put it in a Faraday bag. But for a normal person who doesn't have a Faraday bag, you would do those 3 things if you want to for sure make sure that the phone doesn't log any more information or overwrite any more information. That's who wants me to think? I mean, are you saying the phone is still on if you put it on airplane mode, take the SIM card out and turn it off? That's funny. Yeah, with a hammer. I'm still confused. Who wants me to think? Okay, so now let me go pull up. Hold on. Pull up this. Okay. When am I going to fucking do that, Twiz? Right. You can't remove the power supply. Right. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so this is where we were. Supplemental disclosure 3325. This disclosure advises the court and counsel that SA Ballance plans to testify by summary from various AT&T documents and utilizes own created summary exhibits in place of the actual record. The state has not supplied such documents unless it is the PowerPoint. If that is the case, these documents are data that are the result of an undisclosed analysis and interpretation of the data. This disclosure advises SA Ballance will testify as follows. Page 13 depicts cellular phone usage by the 8458 phone on November 13th, 2022, and Ballance is expected to testify that when the 8458 phone interacted with the AT&T network at 2:47:29 a.m., the phone was not at the Bryan Kohberger residence, marked BK on the map, rather. Okay, this was in the affidavit. We read this part. It was in the affidavit. Yes. The state has not disclosed an analysis or where SA Ballance will claim the phone was located. Those are the 7 critical minutes that contain exculpatory evidence. Oh, interesting. Page 28 shows a map that includes 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, represented by the CS icon, and a yellow circle that represents a 100-meter radius around the crime scene. Ballance will explain that he conducted analysis of all the cell sites in the area that provided coverage to the crime scene and identified any cell sites that drive test data showed coverage that included this 100-meter radius around the crime scene. 100-meter radius. 100 meters. I have literally no reference. How big is that? That's what she said. 100 meters. I have literally no idea. Oh, that's right. And I forgot they don't make SIM cards anymore, right? It's eSIM. Yeah, I don't know how that works then. I forgot about that, Twiz. Yeah, that's a good point. The eSIMs are new. Yeah. Yeah, in that case, you can't take it out. That's a good point. So Heather says 300. We got a discrepancy here. Heather says 300 feet. Twiz says 220 feet. That's funny. Oh yeah, that's absolutely true. Overwritten. Yeah, once it's overwritten, they can't get it. Yeah. But when it's deleted, yeah, they find that for sure, for the most part. Thank you, Heather. So are you right or is Twiz right? Okay, the state does not disclose this analysis. Pages 29 and 30 represent any time that the 8458 phone utilized a cell site identified as part of page 28 between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. 23 separate instances. Ballance will testify that the 8458 phone used cell sites consistent with being at the crime scene during these dates and times. Ballance will further testify that the hours between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. were identified by the investigative team as times of interest. $10 p.m. and 4 a.m. That's interesting, isn't it, guys? The 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. is interesting. Why is it? Okay. The state has not disclosed its analysis in its 2/17/25 disclosure. It was these times the state claimed was cumbersome and was a waste of time to analyze. Mr. Kohberger provides Exhibit 2, affidavit of side rate, to support his motion to exclude. Okay, yep. And then the Barnharts, we deep dove them, and that was a whole thing. That was hilarious, wasn't it? It was on click. Okay, some of these don't have as much there. That's DNA. Oh, interesting. Okay, Dawson. So this expert was disclosed for the first time in rebuttal disclosures. His area of expertise and proposed testimony that MM was severely impaired by her intoxication and could not fight back is not one that was challenged by expert in Mr. Kohberger's disclosures. The timing of this disclosure does not leave Mr. Kohberger the opportunity to consider the necessity of meeting this expert analysis. This testimony serves no legitimate purpose other than to inflame the passions of the jury. Mr. Kohberger has not in any way contested toxicology on MM. This is an improper. Okay. Yeah, this came up in another filing as well. So it's improper rebuttal. Okay. S.A. Douglas. Supplemental disclosure. Okay, this disclosure references. What, Angel? Huh? I never said to block anybody. This disclosure references numerous documents not listed in the previous disclosure. These appear to be documents utilized the federal grand jury subpoena process to obtain. His anticipated testimony includes Amazon records. His accounting background is not the same as digital forensics. Amazon platform is explained in Defense Motion 11. Amazon Click and the affidavit of David Howell. Other than collecting the record, the state has not disclosed Douglas's credentials to analyze Amazon records. No opinion about the records was disclosed. The state disclosed that Douglas will testify about spending habits. Other than documenting financial institutions and transaction records, the state has not disclosed this expert's opinion of spending habit. This expert must be limited to the specific bank records or purchases contained in the disclosure. Opinion or what it is based on must be excluded because any opinion of the expert has not been disclosed. Okay. And then we have Gilbertson. Again, for those of you guys who are asking about law enforcement as expert witnesses and like specifically as it pertains to like Brett Payne and stuff, I guess, we would see it listed here. So we'll see. It looks like they're going in alphabetical order. But my check, or however you say that, Martinez, let's see. ISP. Ah, Mowery. Oh, look at this. This disclosure ad, oh my God, the typos are just killing me. This disclosure adds reference to various topics without conclusions, such as probabilistic genotyping, human biological material utilized in DNA testing, how to determine how much DNA is present. This disclosure discusses CODIS and the decision not to put males BRD. Ah, yes. Interesting, because Payne's answer was not sufficient. It was severely lacking, in my opinion. The decision and reason not to utilize CODIS for the 2 unknown male profiles has now been disclosed for the first time in over 2 years. Despite requests and discovery and the topic arising, this is the first time any reason has been disclosed. So interesting. Got another reason. The state has taken advantage of knowing Mr. Kohberger's timely disclosed work and decided upon a course of action to counter it. This portion of the disclosure must not be allowed. Mowery. This witness is a detective with the Moscow Police Department. He began working. So they are going to offer Mowery as an expert, looks like, here in trial. Oh my God, it's clicking. Other than police work conducted by this witness, the testimony must be limited to what has been disclosed. The devices and third-party data contain many terabytes of discovery. No specific testimony regarding any devices should be allowed because he's not an expert enough. Nolan. You know what we've not seen, though? We've not seen Payne. We've not seen Payne because it would be after N. No pain. No pain. There you go, guys. No pain, no gain. No, just kidding. Tanzola. And that's the last one there. That's the last one for that. Doo-doo-doo. Oh, that's interesting. So where are you joining us from, Norma? You don't have to say if you don't want, but usually it's one of the things, right? I always tend to remember where people are from. And Mikey, remind me, you're in Canada? Remind me where you're joining us from. We do have a lot of Canadian squirrel friends, so oh, in Virginia, you're my neighbor then, Norma. I'm in North Carolina. Sweet. That's cool. Shout out to Virginia. What am I doing? Oh, right. Doing that. Huh. Let's see here. Get a little bit bigger. That's what she said. Contact and touch DNA. It works if anyone does it. Anyone can do it. Unless Nightbots. Oh, you have to do it. So Angel, you have to do it by itself. You can't do it in another thing. Like, you just have to type it by itself, the command. Anybody can use the commands. Woo! Yeah. We have so many. We have so many fun commands. So let me see. What else do we have? Okay. Okay. We're going to save the DNA for another live stream. That's what we're going to do. Because they're getting into some stuff here. And I've actually got some other things I wanted to go over with DNA. I have some things saved on my computer that were referenced in the other filings. So that's going to be, we'll have to do that on another live stream. So, because what I want to do is I want to be able to get on over to Lori Ballo. And that's going to be awesome. But I thought I initially was going to have a redirect you guys, but I realized I still have to get Frodo situated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to it'll just be a separate live stream in like 10 minutes is what we'll do. But that's going to be awesome. We're going to go over the latest court filings, including Lori's handwritten court filings. We're going to watch her interview with Colby. And also I've got a surprise thing we're going to watch, which is this cult that I discovered on that. There's a really interesting interview with them, these cult leaders, and it's crazy. And I'd never heard of it. And it's very much on point with Chad and Lori. I mean, different, but cult, right? So, but it's next level. It's next level, you guys. It's so next level. It's insane. It's got a vibe. If you guys know Nexium, right? It's got that vibe, but like next level. It's crazy. So I thought that would be interesting to watch too. So anyone can stay. Welcome, G-Wiz. Anyone who's new, welcome. Yeah. So never have I ever. Oh, that's older stuff. That was from like a few days ago, Mikey. If that's what you're referencing, the members only live, that was from like a few days ago. Anyone's welcome. But speaking of members only, though, so we had to have Never Have I Ever. That was just a few days ago. Members only live stream. We're going to do another members only live stream here in a few days. We're going to do the members only trivia night, and then we will do another Never Have I Ever at some point too. Excellent. We love it. That's awesome. Love. Too Fast might be listening. I would be shocked if we don't see or hear from Too Fast before the day is done. And by that, I mean, even in the next live stream. So, so welcome to you. Where are you joining us from? Let us know. And also feel free to join the Discord. So, so yeah, but I just got to make sure I get my Frodo, my dog. Arkansas. We have other Arkansas squirrels. Love that. Shout out to Arkansas. Get my Frodo, my dog situated, and then we will be able to start up with Lori. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Surfing. So not gotcha. No. Yeah, I was like, that was only a few days ago. So there you go. See, neighbors. We love that. That's awesome. Tonka's laughing at something, probably me. Also, hi, Tonka. Were you here earlier? Either way, hello. Tonka so far is our only Alaska squirrel. We have a number of Australian squirrels. And Too Fast also is in, no, Too Fast is Alabama, I think. Got it. Twiz. Oh, you're saying which one yesterday, Bryan Kohberger? You mean the one with Twiz on? Yeah, it was great. It'd be great if Twiz came on again. That was so epic though yesterday. It was so epic. Oh, Mikey's weighing in on the V card. That is hilarious. It was really fucking funny yesterday. Yeah, it was an epic day for sure. So but yes, but we will continue here in just a moment once I get Frodo situated, and I'll probably just go ahead and just put it at 2:45, so in like 12 minutes, and we will carry on. So anyone who was new, specifically G-Wiz, you're always welcome. Like, you should be able to see the other live stream. It should actually, I guess I need to schedule it because it was supposed to start already. But you can only be live in one place at a time. So let me update this. And that way you guys can see it. And let's see here. If I can just edit this real quick. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. So I just went ahead and scheduled it so it'll be there in like 12 minutes. Yeah, that should work. So so hopefully I can see all you guys there. And I literally, I was just thinking that Twiz. Bryan can be in two places. Yeah, I know. I was just literally thinking, I was like, that's so funny. Ninja status, right? Oh, that reminds me. I've got that Twiz picture. Anyway, we'll have to save that for another day. It's all good. You should be able to take you to it if you click on the link. It's basically just a way to stay in touch with like getting notifications for live streams and stuff, but also to continue conversation. Like, it's free, and it's basically for everybody here in the Squirrel Crew. Like, people can post links or videos or whatever, but like there's different threads in there for the different cases. And it's just a really fun way to keep in touch, and you can direct message people. It's awesome. So, and everybody is super awesome and will totally help you out too if you have questions. And so will I as well, of course. Tonka, yes. Love that. What a great segue into Lori Vallow, right? Bryan has a portable portal. Love it. I love it. Thank you, Tonka, for that. If your comments are being deleted, blame Twiz. Twiz, are you deleting comments? And if that's happening, can I see that? Is that possible? Like, do I have a way to see that? I'm not deleting anything. I never delete anything. Twiz, are you deleting things? So Toes, you might be in top chat. This has been happening recently, guys, on YouTube. It's been happening. Make sure you're in live chat because it might be, if you're not seeing things, it might be that you're in top chat, or unless YouTube's having issues. I don't know. So then that's what I thought. He only deletes Magpie. Okay, good. Good to know. You're very welcome. That's right. Hold on. Let's do Lori's. Oh, I would see it if it was deleted. Okay, thank you, Mikey. Twiz Ben, he's had one day on the job. So hopefully Nightbot will cooperate and do Lori's command here. That's funny. Oh, hi, Spencer. Glad you're still with us. There it is. There it is. We're gonna flash through the portal, guys. Yeah, no, I don't do any policing. Only Glenn, our one troll. Heather knows if she's still listening. Many of you guys know Glenn is a legend. I was saying just the other day, I was like, I don't ever want to have to block anybody because it's a tradition on this channel that Glenn is the only troll. And I don't want that to ever change. So anyway, but we will go ahead and carry on to the next stream. I will see you guys in a second. Love y'all. Welcome to everyone who's new. Welcome back to everyone who's not new. Love you guys. And I'll see y'all in a second. Squirrel out.